She's not what you'd expect. She's tough and feisty, but gentle and tender. She makes millions and gives millions to the poor. She cries, she laughs, she teaches, she comforts. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. Thanks so much for joining us today. Have you ever been trapped in a prison of fear? Lord knows I have. Maybe you have too, or you might know somebody who has. Generally, people who are trapped in a prison of fear, they tend not to tell other people about it, but boy, there are some tall tale signs. Here on the Dani Johnson Show, every single day, we're bringing you topics to help you have greater success according to your design. I'm not talking about the status quo of success. In fact, we're here to annihilate the status quo of success. It's a facade. It's a sham. It's a trap. It's a lie. It's fake. It's a fake world that so many millions of people, if not billions of them from around the world, are chasing, trying to define their lives by accumulating stuff, going into debt to get it. People trying to get those big promotions so they have the big titles, but not necessarily the paycheck that goes with it, and or they're just striving to get that bigger paycheck so they can feel better about themselves. Does it really work? Is that really what life is all about? So many people are driven by work more than they are about the loves of their life. Misery that then rises up. Maybe you're that person that did everything right. You went to college, you were an A student, you were a part of all the clubs at school, you did everything right. And yet you found yourself still just suffocating under the pressure of debt, feeling like a loser, not moving your life the way that you want to. This show, every day, when you and I get together, we're challenging each other to define success for us, for you and for me. And your definition might be different than mine, but what's important is that you define it. So you don't live your life by default, but instead you live it by design. And that's exactly what Brianna has done. This young woman from Davie, Florida, joins us today in sharing how she went from a prison of fear, completely crippled by the things of her past, to living her life by design and experience success in areas she did not even know was possible. Brianna, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dani. Thank you for having me.
You're gorgeous, by the way.
Thank you.
Absolutely gorgeous. How old are you?
I'm 26.
So young. My gosh, I'm old enough to be your mother. Okay, so in your last name, is that Greek?
That's Serbian. My husband's from Serbia.
Wow.
Yeah,
nice.
Nikolic.
Nice. Yeah, very, very over there name.
Yeah.
Certainly not an over here name.
No.
Okay, so you had said that you were living in a prison of fear, felt trapped in fear.
Yeah.
Tell me what that looked like on a daily basis.
You just speaking now brought me to tears because people would see me and they thought I was the strong one. I appeared really independent and strong and, we women got this. And little did they know I had so many fears. And plugging into Dani, plugging into this whole training system, I never realized that started when I was 3.5 years old when my dad had died of a drug overdose in front of me.
Wow. Do you remember this?
I remember the whole thing.
Tell me about it. Describe it to me with your words.
Yeah. My mom was a night shift nurse, so he would watch me while she was working at night. And so we were getting ready to, watch our movie. Our favorite thing to do is watch Hocus Pocus. I don't do that now. But eat oranges on the couch. And we baked blueberry muffins for my mom. I just remembered really good times with my dad. And this moment was just so, I was lost. I was shattered. I didn't know what was going on. I just remembered him walking out of the bathroom and blood being everywhere and him sitting on the couch. And then I went up to him and I gave him the VHS tape and I said, "Daddy, is this Hocus Pocus?" And he said, "Yeah." And I put it in the TV and it was just like white fuzzy dots on the television. And then he collapsed on the floor and my mom came in. She opened the door and she starts screaming his name. And she just starts doing CPR on him, trying to revive him back to life. But it was too late. And there was just tissues everywhere because I was trying to wipe his blood to help him. And I never realized that really crippled me into adulthood, into everything that kind of cycled after that. So.
Did your dad indeed die that night?
Yeah, he did.
Oh my
I remembered sitting in my Barney bed and the cops coming to investigate, and I was just like lost. I didn't know what was going on, and I just wanted someone to help and to give me I don't know, I just wanted I didn't know what was going on. I was so, and people didn't know that I knew all of that growing up. They told me that he died of a heart attack, my family.
Wow, but you remember.
I remembered everything.
So they just assumed because you were 3 that you would not remember.
Right.
So you were physically there. What kind of drugs was your dad doing?
Heroin.
Oh my gosh. So was he shooting it in his veins?
Yeah. My mom and him were high school sweethearts, and he didn't have this issue until after they got married. Wow. And so it hurt a lot because I didn't really understand, like, why would someone do this after getting married, after having, a child. And he was so proud to have me. Like, he was just he was so happy to have a daughter. And so it hurt, when I finally understood at like 12, my mom told me, and it clicked, everything clicked together. And I just remembered saying, how, he won't be there when I graduate, when I get married, for our grandbabies. And it's a life that was chosen. And, but then going to these events and really plugging into this training, I realized that there was so much forgiveness that I had to do. And, God really just showed me him as a little boy and how much he suffered.
Your dad showed you your dad.
Yeah,
so, and you're saying this happened at First Steps to Success?
A
business, finance, and relationship seminar. Through that experience, through that 3-day training seminar, you had this aha moment
of seeing my dad as a little boy and being trapped in something that he didn't know how to get out of. And he did the best he really could. And so today I can happily say I'm so grateful for him, and I love him, and I forgive him. But for so long, I was so angry. I had so much bitterness and jealousy and like envy in my heart from like just seeing other people growing up with their mom and dad. And it was so hard. It was really hard because I didn't know how to deal with those emotions.
So when you say you had jealousy and bitterness and anger, like how did that like manifest itself out of you?
Gosh, I know the exact moment. Like, I was 7 years old. It was first grade, and our teacher had us like go up to the whiteboard to draw a picture of our family and to teach us about like how many generations can live in a home. And I just remembered seeing like most of the kids had like mom and dad and brother, sister, and it was just me and my mom.
Yeah.
And I remembered just having this like in my heart, like, the girls that had their dads, like, I just wanted that. And I didn't have it, so it was really hard. And then when my mom got remarried, when I was 9, and my stepdad, God bless him, he dealt with a lot with me. I was an angry child, so I rebelled a lot against him. But he was so great, so patient, so understanding. And I finally got that father-daughter relationship when I was in college. It was the first time I called him dad, even though he was there for me for like 9 years.
Wow.
Because I only had someone to call dad for the first 3 years of my life, and then I didn't have anything after that. So it was a really hard word to come out.
Yeah. So did you just not like the man just because he wasn't your dad?
I felt like he stole my mom. And I gave him a lot of hell.
Like how? Tell me how.
I was just back talking. I remember the one time we got into a huge argument, and I spit on his car. Wow. And my brother and sister were like 10 and 9 years apart, and I remember my brother would go drinking the toilet water because we would leave the bathroom open. He was a baby. He was 1 year old.
Oh my God.
And I would get in trouble for that. And I remember just talking to my pet bird, like, everyone hates me. No one's for, I was so angry. And I was angry at God. for the longest time, I mean, I was raised in church, but I was really angry at him because I couldn't understand why would someone so powerful and almighty do something like this and take so many important men out of my life. Because then my second father figure was my uncle who helped raise me, and then he died of cancer when I was 9.
Wow.
So it was just a lot of loss at a young age, and you know, didn't know how to deal with it.
Right.
So it was all suppressed.
So prior to coming to that 3-day training seminar, First Steps to Success, what was your life like? What were you doing? When you say that you lived in a prison of fear, how did that look?
Oh man, Dani. I was newly married. My husband and I had just graduated college. We just started a business together with 2 other partners, and I had my own home-based business. And I was really trying to drive that business out of fear in the beginning. I wanted to, my husband, when we first met 7 years ago, I mean, he dealt with all of this and the emotions that I was carrying, the baggage.
But how did that manifest in the relationship? Give me an example. Like, you gave me examples of 3 years old and 7 years old. Give me an example of building a business out of fear. What is that like?
I mean, my goal was to, you know, work so that my husband wouldn't go for his dream job, which was really scary to me. His dream job when we first met, like he said, I'm going to work for, you know, so it's a law enforcement position that for me seemed really scary because I thought I could lose him in that.
Yeah.
So I was driving that business to say, you know what, I'm gonna work this thing so that you don't have to go that route. And that's all manipulation. Yeah. I mean, it's complete manipulation because that wasn't the dream that God planted in my husband. So it was at one of the events that God revealed to me, like, you know, we reap what we sow. You've been reaping or sowing unsupport in your husband's dream. So you're going to reap the same thing. Yeah. And so I completely went back from that event and I apologized. And I said, it was the first time I actually shared with him that the minute he told me, which was like the 3rd day we were dating, he said that he wanted to go for this position. I told him, I said, I never told you this, but I was in complete fear because I felt that you going for this position, I would lose you, and I don't want to lose another man. Yeah. And I'm sorry for holding you back in that and not supporting you. And I just gave it to God. And I mean, that was probably that was 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. And I mean, today I'm his prayer warrior, go do what you got to do.
Wow. And okay, so hold on 1 second. We've got to cut to a break. When we continue, I want to see what that kind of control and manipulation has as an impact on your marriage. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more after this.
Have you ever been so gripped by fear that it controlled the people around you? When we come back, find out what Brianna did that changed everything. More resources, more training, more results. The DaniJohnson.com Insider Membership is your ultimate success shortcut. Get exclusive access to reports, videos, audios, ebooks, cheat sheets, and other training for your personal and professional life. This is truly DaniJohnson.com's best kept secret. Become an Insider member today and get on the fast track to success.
Imagine living in a decrepit, unsafe hovel made of waste material on top of old mining tunnels that could explode and sink your home at any moment. Imagine no water to drink, no safe place to raise your children, no food for your starving baby. Imagine that your kids can't learn to read because they have to work to support the family instead of going to school. Could you imagine living in that kind of fear and hopelessness? This is exactly what poverty-stricken families are dealing with in Nicaragua. These families can barely meet their basic needs of food, clean water, and safe housing. But a miracle is in the making, and you can be a part of transforming Nicaragua. Be a part of this miracle. I want you to go to the website now and learn how you can help. Go to kingsransom.org and click on Nicaragua. There you can join with other warriors against poverty and help bring a miraculous transformation. That's kingsransom.org, kingsransom.org.
Did you know you can take the Dani Johnson Show with you wherever you go? It's never been easier to stay up to date with the latest content from Dani with the DaniJohnson.com app. Watch or listen in the car. at the gym, or on the go. Download it now from the App Store and Google Play and never miss a show again. Your family, business, and bank account will thank you.
Hi, I'm Dani Johnson. The most common question I get usually are from people who are trying to juggle their life. They've got kids who are involved in all kinds of activities. They've got business or their job, finances, trying to get out of debt, plus all their church activities and all the volunteer activities. And they're pulling their hair out going, how do I juggle this all? Man, I once lived just like that until I learned Time Secrets. Time Secrets showed me how to be able to cut my hours from 100 hours a week that I was working down to 20 hours a week and tripled my income as a direct result with what I learned. Time Secrets also showed me how to get my priorities in order, which healed up my marriage. And I became a mother that I was proud of versus becoming the mother I didn't want to be. And so if you feel like your world is running around in all kinds of different circles, you can fix that. Call 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880 for Time Secrets.
If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do with your life? Discover your own answer. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Could you imagine being a little girl watching your father overdose on heroin? That's exactly where Brianna found herself, and here's the facts. Her dad died that night. Watched her mother try to revive her father. Then shortly after that, lost another major important man in her life, another father figure, her uncle, of cancer. So by 9 years old, she suffered 2 incredible losses and then was carrying that fear with her into every relationship thereafter. Brianna, you said that you were that unsupportive wife of your husband who didn't just want a law enforcement position. We're talking a very high level of law enforcement where it's incredibly unsafe. And so you said after coming to First Steps to Success and you were just locked into this terrible prison of fear and how it controlled every area of your life, and that even though your husband, while you were dating, said that you guys he wanted to go into that very high level of law enforcement, which we will not say what it is, but it's very high level. It's not just your local cop. He ain't no traffic cop. And that could be dangerous, but we're talking something much different level. So you said that you were that unsupportive wife, which is a really nice thing to say about yourself, actually. How are you controlling and manipulating him as an unsupportive wife? Because that's what an unsupportive wife does, is she controls, nags, and manipulates.
Yes. But even my first thought when he told me this when we were dating was, well, in my head, I said, well, I could just pray that God will change your heart. Mm-hmm. And no, God ended up changing my heart. I mean, in our household, it looked like, he would go for these positions and try to apply for them. And it was a 3-year-long process that he had to wait for before he even got in. Mm-hmm. And in my heart, I was just praying like that God would stop it.
I know. I got that part,
yeah.
which sounds really sweet. But I'm talking about your mouth towards him about his job that he was going for, about his dream.
I don't know if I ever blatantly said, I
don't like this job, or
yes,
have you ever thought about doing something else? Maybe you could be.
Well, we were doing something else. We were building
exactly.
We had a gym,
right?
And so we were building that for 3 years, in the process while he was waiting.
Right.
So yeah, I just thought that maybe that's just the path that we could stick with.
Right. So did you encourage him in that? Like, can't we just build this business together instead of that other thing?
Yes, but then at that time too, I had also met you. So my heart was being changed. But yeah, there were things that I was just like, why?
Dropping hints. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's called nagging, by the way. Dropping hints, trying to teach him that he's going in the wrong direction.
Actually, okay, Dani. So in our home-based business, I would just say, why don't you lead this? Why don't you? And it wasn't for him.
No.
It wasn't for him to do. And I was that person that wanted to retire
Your
my
husband.
before he even started his
And
job.
he's in his 20s. Yeah.
He's 35.
Oh, he's 30.
Yeah.
So you married an older guy. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So you came through First Steps to Success. You've been to many of them.
Yes.
You have been continuously plugging into that supportive community. You had a pivotal experience at your first event. What has been the results? We have about 1 minute left. What's been the results since plugging in?
I mean, my marriage has grown into something that I've always dreamed of, if not more. We have confidence in our relationship. We have trust. I never had that before. We paid off $22,000 of debt in 2 years. We have our first baby coming in May, and we're just so excited to be a mom and a dad. And I've grown into that supportive wife, really learning what that means and learning how to honor and respect a man that God designed.
Yeah.
Man, I mean.
And are you still a prisoner of fear?
No, no. We've been to 3 mission trips, and each one being in a different country and not knowing the culture and just seeing a difference of how people live. It really helped break me out of those chains and the shackles and freedom.
So you're not the same person that you were.
Not at all. Not at all.
In 10 seconds, tell me how your husband feels about that.
He is so proud of me as a wife. I had talked to him about it, and he said, I think for him, it's been an amazing journey to see me grow as a woman and as a wife for him.
Yes. And soon to be a mom, a mom, which I'm pretty sure if you had lived still in that prison of fear, there's no way you would have agreed to have children.
Or that they would have just been controlled and manipulated.
Exactly. This is Dani Johnson. Thanks so much, Brianna. We'll be back with more after this.
Be sure to tell a friend about the Dani Johnson Show. It just might be the key to the breakthrough they need.
The whole story of how I went from homeless to millions is right here in this book, First Steps to Wealth. I'd love to give you a free copy of this book. Just dial 888-757-8880. You can get your free copy of this book. It's like a real book, my friend. You can get an ebook copy for free right now, or if you'd like to pay the shipping to get this $15 book to your house, I'd be happy to send it to you. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of First Steps to Wealth today and begin on a brand new path of some great success.
Did you know you can see Dani Johnson live and in person? Go to DaniJohnson.com and find out about our next live event. First Steps to Success. Register today. Call 866-760-8255 or go to DaniJohnson.com/FSTS.
Prior to plugging into DaniJohnson.com, I was working 60 to 75 hours a week. I was completely stressed out. I was incredibly angry with my husband. We were in over $350,000 worth of debt. By applying the strategies that Dani teaches, in the last 3.5 years, we have paid off $170,000 in debt. We are no longer roommates, and we no longer spend every single cent that we make. We now have made tens of thousands of dollars in passive income in investments. We are on the right track. We're traveling around the world together, and we are building homes for those who really need it. So I don't know about you, but if you want to cut back from 60 to 20 and 30 hours a week, if you want to mend some relationships, if you want to make your life more efficient and a lot more fun, and you want to be the best version of you, I highly recommend that you get registered because your life is about to change.
Prior to plugging into DaniJohnson.com, First Steps to Success in Creating Dynasty, my wife and I were really lost. We were struggling in a relationship. We were struggling financially, drowning in debt. Our relationship was really broken. We were in a bad place. We were living in 2 completely different states and not really honoring each other. Once we got plugged into the community, we noticed a shift in our lives. Most importantly, we came together as a husband and wife. That was the first thing we did. And when we finally came together under the same roof, things started to change. Over the past 3 years, we've been able to pay off over $495,000 in debt. I know my business, I've had a job created for me that increased my income by 50%. That has actually opened up the door to allow my wife and I to spend more time with each other. So I don't know where you are. I don't know if your relationship is super awesome. I don't know if your job is immaculate. I don't know if you're debt-free. But what I do know is if you're not any one of those things, your next step is to get plugged into DaniJohnson.com, go on the website, get plugged into the community. I promise you, your life will never be the same.
And prior to plugging into DaniJohnson.com, I was a broke college student, drowning in debt, and I felt like the world was crashing all around me, and I had bad relationships. Since plugging into DaniJohnson.com and First Steps to Success, I was able to pay off $6,600 in 4 months. Now I'm able to give 10% of my income to wherever my heart desires. I actually, using the skills that I learned from Dani, I actually landed a job before I graduated college. And I'm able to travel the world. All I know is if you're serious about annihilating your debt, traveling the world, helping people, and having fun doing so, I highly recommend you get registered for the next First Steps to Success. Do it now, don't wait, don't even thinking about it. If you're ready to change your life, just do it.
We went to our first ever First Steps to Success just 10 weeks ago, and it has definitely been life-changing ever since.
We felt like we got hit by a 2x4, but it was the best 2x4 because what we realized is that our priorities were clearly out of line. I had been building a home-based business and had been working 80 to 100 hours, and I realized that that is not my role, and that I had actually taken my husband's. And it was that realization that something had to change, and we immediately went home and changed everything. There was no hesitation. We said, you know what, we need to be obedient to God.
And we've implemented the tools day one. We started implementing what Dani taught us, invested in ourselves, invested in our kids, got our priorities in line. We've now actually paid off just not quite $60,000 in debt and looking at a couple more investments here as head of the household.
It's been absolutely incredible. So I just encourage you, if any of this speaks to you, if you're wanting to get out of debt, if you're wanting better communication, if you're wanting to elevate to the higher level of life, get to First Steps to Success and plug into DaniJohnson.com.
What multimillionaire do you know that volunteers their time to help ordinary people like you and me? There's only one. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
So just imagine being in a place where you just don't know why. There's just conflict everywhere, right? You're in conflict with the people that you're living with. You're in conflict with your work life. You've got, over $500,000 worth of debt. And maybe you've just kind of settled in this place where this is just the way it is. But maybe your spouse is thinking something different, like this just can't be what it is. That's exactly where this beautiful, dynamic, and amazing couple, this is what their life was like. $645,000 worth of debt, in a constant state of turmoil, fighting, conflict. A father of two and a husband. Zakhar Keselman joins me now with his beautiful, amazingly talented wife, Laura. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Dani.
Hi. Hi. Thanks for joining us via Skype, all the way from Ohio. So tell us, Zakhar, first. Tell me kind of what life looked like prior to hearing about DaniJohnson.com.
Well, I heard about Dani Johnson from my dear friend, Patrick Coonan.
Mm-hmm.
Him and I have met at the gym. He formed me there, and he was asking a lot of questions about myself, and I just love the guy. And then he knew I'm a business owner. We did some business together, and then he told me about Dani. He actually shared with me a Grooming the Next Generation CD, which my ego was so big back then. I listened to your CD for about 2 minutes, and even though it was an amazing content, I felt like, why is this girl screaming at me? And I took the CD out. I never listened to it again. Then Patrick invited me to come to an event that was First Steps to Success. It was April 2011 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which was only a 2-hour drive. And I thought, you know what? He's been bringing up this girl to me, and I'm going to go just to honor him. My wife and I came. And little did we know, our eyes were so open. We were in $645,000 worth of debt. We didn't even understand we were in debt, Dani. I was very poor in Ukraine. We didn't have paycheck to paycheck, but basically we survived. And so I thought as the money comes in, the money just needs to be spent. So when I opened my business in 2004 and that business became successful fast enough, my character was not there to support that success. And we just started spending money like crazy. We would go out probably 6-7 times a week to eat. I went out and bought, $72,000 Cadillac Escalade as my work truck. We have built a huge mansion only because I was sold that successful people, they buy expensive cars and they build these beautiful, expensive houses. And so as the money would come in, the money would just go out. Our marriage was very average. I had a lot of issues with my older daughter. She's an opposite of me in our personality type, and I constantly tried to change her. Why are you not doing it this way? If you're not doing it this way, it's wrong. And it's also my cultural background as well. And so it was created, the home was not peaceful. And, I knew that. I realized where I'm at about the first half of the first step to success, because I started relating of everything you were sharing, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is me, and this needs to change now. So that's pretty much where we were. I don't know if my wife wants to add something to this.
Yeah, in fact, I got a question for you. I think this is so interesting what you were saying, that you didn't even realize you were in debt, and you didn't realize that was not a good thing. Talk to me about that. Like, what do you mean you didn't realize you were in debt and that you didn't think it was a bad thing?
I became a Christian in 2004, and I started going to church, and I had a lot of friends in church. I had a lot of friends that are business people, and everybody around me were in debt. Mm-hmm. Everybody around me were living paycheck to paycheck, including our pastor that I honored a lot and loved a lot. And so to me, being in debt was just, it's just so normal.
It's the way of life.
It's the way of life. Hey, if you can afford the payment and you want it, just go get it.
Wow. So what impact did that kind of debt have on your relation? No, actually, I want to get into that later. What kind of impact did that debt have on you as a man? That you're living paycheck to paycheck, you're working so hard, you have a business, you have a wife, a beautiful wife, 2 beautiful daughters. Did you ever feel the pressure from those payments?
Well, let me tell you, Dani, when I came to that event, I actually came with a friend of mine who was my biggest client at a time. It was a real estate investor that was buying and selling homes. Mm-hmm. And 99% of my business was coming from that client. Mm. And one of the things you said at that event is, if you stop exposing your business and developing and building sales and creating and getting more clients, you have poverty mindset, and there is going to be a destruction down the road. And thank God that I was able to come to this event and hear it, because right after I came to that event, I went like a total nuts on everything I heard, because within a year, that actually prior for me to come into that event, that man was investigated by FBI, and it took him about 5 years to be cleared. He didn't do anything wrong, but because of the 2008 recession and they were going after a lot of real estate investors and lenders, he was investigated, and his business started slowing down. And a year after that event, I had no more business coming from that man.
Wow. Oh my gosh. It literally is like God was looking out for you. Like literally looking out for you and showing you there's trouble ahead. And you heard it. You had the humility enough to hear it. But back to this, the pressure that you were feeling, right? All of your business coming from one man, or 99% of the business coming from one client, which is horrible. That is not a way to build a business. You can never have sustainability with having one client and building all of your business around that. But the pressure as a man, dealing with that pressure, knowing that this guy is, being investigated, all your business coming from there, all of that debt, you have $645,000 worth of debt. Did you feel the pressure of that?
Oh, Dani, I didn't want to wake up. Mm-hmm. I would wake up and I would literally, all these thoughts will just completely engulf my brain. I mean, it would be like you see all these bills coming through and you don't know where the check is coming. Yep. You're like, I'm hoping the bank will give us a draw. It was just so much stress. I probably had internally kind of concealed a lot of that stress from my family. There were times I told my wife, I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I imagine owing money to your team that helps you build your business, that works so hard in helping you work, and they're asking for a paycheck and you can't meet that payroll. And to me, especially at that time, I was a full-time believer. I mean, what was that message speaking to employees that, thank God a lot of them are Christians, a lot of them are not Christians. So what message was it speaking to them? Here's this guy, he's driving an Escalade, he's living in this mansion, but he can't pay me my hard-earned money, so I can go buy food, or I can pay, for things for my children. So it was killing me, Dani.
Gosh, Zakhar, I cannot imagine how emasculating that had to be for you. It's one thing to provide for your family, but it's another. You actually employ construction workers who are working hard labor every single day to put food on the table for their wives and their children. And wow. And look, you bought into the so-called facade of the American dream, which is buy the big house, buy the expensive car. Go, if you can afford the payment, then buy it. But look, this is what's behind the closed doors. This is the facts, man. This is a real life businessman who's a contractor who lived this lie. And I love what you said earlier that, everybody else is doing it, so why not? That is exactly how we end up so trapped. And that's why this show, the Dani Johnson Show, exists every single day. Why? Because if you're on the path that Zakhar and Laura were on, get off of it now and get yourself to first steps to success immediately. Man, he heard exactly what he needed to hear. And coming to that event, he didn't even think he's going to hear something he needed to hear. He was just trying to get his friend Patrick off his back. Listen to me. There's trouble ahead, friend. There's always trouble ahead. How will you manage it? Do you have a new strategy for 2018? Are you setting yourself up to lose or to win in 2018? Zakhar was on a losing path. You saw he didn't even want to wake up in the morning. How horrifying for a husband to say to his wife, I don't even know how I'm going to pay for this. I don't know how I'm going to make payroll this week. I don't know how we're going to make our house payment this month. What a terrifying thing, especially for a Ukrainian man. We're talking man. We're not talking some of the metasexual, I don't know how you call that. But anyway, we're not talking about some American men. We are talking about a Ukrainian man. We're just like, major machismo, as we call it in Nicaragua. This is Dani Johnson. We're going to dig deep on the wife's side and what their success is after this.
When we come back, hear Laura's side of the story. It might change the way you see your marriage. Next on The Dani Johnson Show.
This is your chance. This is your shot. Get your copy of War on Debt right now. There's one waiting for you that has your family's name on it. And inside that package is freedom. Your family's freedom is on the inside of that package. All you have to do is open it up, press play, and start applying what I teach you in this program. 888-757-8880. You and I are going to help your family become completely debt-free in the next 5 to 7 years. Just imagine how that's going to feel.
Did you know you can see Dani Johnson live and in person? Go to DaniJohnson.com and find out about our next live event. First Steps to Success. Register today. Call 866-760-8255 or go to DaniJohnson.com/FSTS.
So 4 years ago in July, we showed up to our first Dani Johnson event, our first Steps to Success. And we were completely desperate in every area of our life. At the time, I thought it was just because of our finances, but then I figured out pretty quickly that it was because of my lack of people skills that we were where we were. We sat in the front row. We got fast track, and we sat in the front row right in the center next to some amazing people. because we were so hungry, so desperate, so broken, and I pretty much cried through the entire event, honestly. And when she did the War on Debt, which she will show you, this afternoon, I went back immediately and got it. She had just started talking. I heard a couple stories, and I was like, if they can do it, I know we can do it. So we went back and got it and listened to it on the way home in the car, because we drove from Michigan all the way to Missouri. So we listened to it in the car, and when we got home, we immediately got our papers out. We wrote down our plan, and we started applying it. And within 14 months, we paid off over $62,000 worth of debt. We never in a million years thought that was possible. There's so much that has happened in the last 4 years, and I'm the person that wants the results immediately. I don't like the process of getting there. I want to just get there. But I've learned to appreciate the process over the last 4 years, and just seeing the transformation that has happened in us. Personally, we individually experience different things, and we experience a lot of things together. I was paying our bills. I was completely disrespectful to my husband and didn't really know how bad it actually was. And so that part of our life is still improving. I can say we're a work in progress. It takes time, and we have grown so much.
We showed up. My wife, I didn't know this at the time, but she was battling thoughts of suicide. I had no idea. I thought I was being a perfectly good husband. I did my best to serve her, be a great guy. But what she needed was somebody who would step up and be a leader in our marriage. That's not who I was. And I was totally emasculated, physically emasculated by, there was someone in our church, the pastor, and so we felt the brokenness of a church, having to leave and just hurt, and devastated. One of the biggest breakthroughs started in our marriage is when Lucy started being a wife to me. And I, as a leader, I should step up, right? Take action first, be the initiator. She did it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a completely different person. And I can tell you, our marriage has just, it's amazing, the difference between her feeling suicidal, me stepping down as a leader, to me taking the initiative and just looking her in the eyes and saying, honey, thank you for allowing me to be your leader. And she just melts every time. This is awesome. So. So let me just tell you this, guys. If you're struggling, or you're broke, you're wondering what your next step is, hey, just take action. Follow those notes that you just took. Take action and do it, because your story is going to be here, and people are going to be inspired by your story. So are you all ready to take notes? All right, let's do this. Help me welcome Miss Dani Johnson, America's favorite millionaire, to the stage.
The way you look at things is about to change. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
So you're married to a guy from the Ukraine. He's worked his tail off to provide you a giant house and a brand new Escalade and everything that your heart's desires. You guys are going to church, you know all the right people. Seems like everything's fine. But behind the closed doors, not everything is fine. Laura Keselman and her husband Zakhar joins us. We just finished hearing Zakhar's side of the story. Now it's Laura's turn. Laura, what was that like?
Honestly, like Zakhar said, when we went to our first event, I sat there really not knowing what we were about to get into. But for me, my word was ambushed. Like, I sat there and I felt like the Holy Spirit ambushed me and revealed to me all the junk that I was carrying around and all the deep-rooted issues that I was dealing with. And I didn't have any idea of the heartache that he was dealing with and the pressures that he was dealing with as a man, because he kept all of that from me. I think maybe in a sense of just wanting to protect his wife, he never let me know really how deep in debt we were. I didn't know the numbers back then. I do now, but I didn't have the mindset to even see those things. And I came in and I sat in that conference And I knew I was going to a business conference, but for me, I sat there and it was like my eyes were so opened up to some of the baggage that I was carrying and some of the things from my past that I was carrying.
Like what, Laura? Tell me what the baggage was, and then I want you to tell me, how was the stress manifested from your husband in the home?
So I was really dealing with there being no joy in my life as a mom. Zero. I probably to the point I could use the word I hated it. And I had some small children at that time. And no mom wants to feel that she hates being a mom.
Yeah.
There's nothing more painful than knowing that that's what you're called to do, called to be a mom, and completely, totally failing at it, and completely feeling like a failure. And when I look back at that, I sat there and I just cried my eyes out, and I was crying out to God. I was like, oh my goodness, I have no idea how to be a mom. And I just said, God, I think you've got me here for such a time as this. And even though it was a business conference, every principle that you began to teach, I began to apply in my home. And everything that you taught about increasing your value in the marketplace, I did, increasing my value in my home and to my husband, so that I could position myself in my home so that my husband could go out and produce and be effective and be the person that he was called to be, instead of the horribly sad, miserable mess of a wife at home who felt like she was babysitting her children instead of truly investing in them and truly inspiring them. So that was huge for us. It was huge.
I'm in tears right now because I had times as being a mom where I felt the same way. I think a lot of women do. And I think largely because our society does not celebrate motherhood or even put value that's on it. I think the whole feminist movement has just crushed the women. It has not exalted the women, but it's taken her away from actually where her heart actually beats. And I understand those emotions that you're having. Now, when Zakhar was under that kind of pressure, how did that pressure manifest between? So here you are, you're feeling like you're babysitting your kids. How powerful, Laura. How powerful. And that he got to be so blessed. He got to run a business outside of the home, right? And you got to be the babysitter. Man. So from your perspective as a wife, how did you see his stress from all the pressure of the debt and the business and all of that?
Honestly, I think I was jealous of the success that he was supposedly having because of all the things that he was able to go out there and buy, and not things that I was ever asking him to buy. It was something that he was doing, and it created a lot of jealousy in me because I felt that my significance here on earth was so dull and nothing exciting, and I was just babysitting my children, and he was going out there, and he was creating all this success, how I saw it in my mind. And I think there was a time of just competition in our home, in my heart, I should say, just where I didn't really honor him. I didn't care that he was making a lot of money. It didn't impress me at all. Wow. At all.
So what happened after First Steps? You guys, is that when you guys had this now financial conversation that we were $645,000 in debt?
Yeah, we went home and our eyes are open and we're like, oh my goodness, we need where do we start? We need a whole turnaround here, because if not, we're just gonna, I don't know, I was gonna collapse, honestly.
Yeah.
We came home, we started saying, okay, here's our debt, and you know how you thought about how to get rid of debt? You start with your smallest debts. Yeah. You attack that. Another thing we didn't say is we were eating out. We got this big house. We were actually buying new cars between every 2 to 3 years, constantly between both of us. I don't know if I was trying to, this poor kid from Ukraine was trying to prove something to somebody. I'm not sure what the root of this was, but we came home. We got a plan. We bought War on That CD and DVD. We listened to it, eyes open, and thank God, God did give me a very teachable personality. And once I know what's right, I always focus, okay, what's the next right thing to do? What is the next right thing to do? So, we got rid of the cars, we put our house up for sale, which is a miracle in itself because back then the market was not good. And we ended up selling our house for very close to asking price. We came up with budgets. We stopped going out and wasting money. Laura started cooking a lot. She started putting cooking plans together. And while I'm sharing all this, Dani, you touched a little bit on motherhood and feminist movement. And can I tell you, as a man, when my wife started getting her motherhood in order, and when she started being the honorable wife that she is, I don't know why they portray it as woman being less or under men, because all it did to me, I was so amazed by my wife. I wanted nothing but to honor her. I wanted nothing but to sacrifice my life for her. I wanted nothing but to serve her because I saw the sacrifice she's doing as a mom, not pursuing her career, how she's grooming our children, what she's doing as a wife, how she manages our house. So yeah, it was just a total turnaround. So, long story short, 2 years after we were at first step to success, we became completely debt-free. We sold our house, we sold our cars, we paid cash for our cars, and yeah, we paid off $645,000 worth of debt. I believe it was by June of 2013.
Wow. First of all, I've been in tears for majority of this show. So very proud of you guys. And you're the classic American couple. And you had so much humility to tell the truth about what is happening behind the front door of the big mansion in that nice neighborhood with the Cadillac Escalade and the other new car in the driveway. The two beautiful people who look like they have it all together. They go to church, they pay their tithes. You showed what's really behind that door. And now you showed what is possible. You redefined success for you. You learned and you applied. And for that, I am so grateful for the two of your example of how you have done this and how you'll continue to do this. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more after this.
Don't go away. The next segment might just change your life. This is The Dani Johnson Show.
The whole story of how I went from homeless to millions is right here in this book, First Steps to Wealth. I'd love to give you a free copy of this book. Just dial 888-757-8880. You can get your free copy of this book. It's like a real book, my friend. You can get an ebook copy for free right now, or if you'd like to pay the shipping to get this $15 book to your house, I'd be happy to send it to you. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of First Steps to Wealth today and begin on a brand new path of some great success. Imagine living in a decrepit, unsafe hovel made of waste material on top of old mining tunnels that could explode and sink your home at any moment. Imagine no water to drink, no safe place to raise your children, no food for your starving baby. Imagine that your kids can't learn to read because they have to work to support the family instead of going to school. Could you imagine living in that kind of fear and hopelessness? This is exactly what poverty-stricken families are dealing with in Nicaragua. These families can barely meet their basic needs of food, clean water, and safe housing. But a miracle is in the making, and you can be a part of transforming Nicaragua. Be a part of this miracle. I want you to go to the website now and learn how you can help. Go to kingsransom.org and click on Nicaragua. There you can join with other warriors against poverty and help bring a miraculous transformation. That's kingsransom.org, kingsransom.org.
More resources, more training, more results. The DaniJohnson.com Insider Membership is your ultimate success shortcut. Get exclusive access to reports, videos, audios, ebooks, cheat sheets, and other training for your personal and professional life. This is truly DaniJohnson.com's best kept secret. Become an Insider member today and get on the fast track to success.
I just heard this amazing story. One of our clients had written us telling us that they had used job domination and unlimited success and has absolutely exploded their career. He said, Dani, I don't know where I'd be today without job domination and unlimited success. Listen, do you want more recognition from your coworkers? Do you want to be recommended to people all over the world? Do you want to be somebody that is highly sought after? Listen, if you're in a dead-end place where this gentleman found himself, but then learned new strategies and changed everything in his work life, and obviously this has resulted in higher bonuses and pay raises, you're next. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of Job Domination right now. 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880. Job domination. That's what you need. It's time for you to dominate the job market and break through the rut that you're in.
Helping you become all you were meant to be. And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
So you heard a powerful story. Zakhar, what do you say to the head of the household who's crumbling under debt right now?
I am just praying and hoping that there is a man or a wife that sees this, that sees our story. And like you always share, some people it's going to touch them a little bit, but not enough to do anything about it. But there are people, part of their New Year's resolution, they have a lot of changes to do. They know they're drowning in debt, they're not happy, their home is not happy, there is so much pressure. I want to speak to that house, to that man, to that leader of the household. You can do something about where you're at right now, the same way as I did. You have to go to the next first step to success. Your mind will be blown away as mine. It is very simple. You will go there and you will just you will get steps on how to get out from where you are. So I'm really hoping and praying that our story touch you and you will do what you know the right thing is to do. What's the next right thing to do?
That's right. Laura, what about you?
I would say to any mom that's out there today that is feeling defeated and feeling that you have no significance because you're a full-time stay-at-home mom, I want to encourage you to remove that lie from your mind right now, because it is a lie, and your highest and greatest calling is your children, and there is no shame in that, and we can gain the vision that we need to have to be the best moms that we can be, of influence and great leaders in our home.
Yep. First Steps to Success, February 23rd, 24th, and 25th in Dallas, Texas. This is your shot. This is your time. This is what happened to them. Do you need an ambush, as Laura said? Do you need to have some major changes happen? Are you following the status quo of success and not happy with it? Are you ready to come out of the facade, out of the life of smoke and mirrors, where you act like everything's great on the outside, but on the inside, man, your heart is filled with the struggles that you heard: jealousy, competition, feeling like a babysitter instead of a wife, being a man who doesn't know how he's going to make payroll for his construction staff, to then learning how and succeeding at it, becoming debt-free inside of 2 years, restoring and rekindling both of those roles as a husband and a wife. You heard Zakhar, how much respect and honor he had for his wife as she began to bloom in that role. Now, you might think you're already blooming in that role. You haven't seen anything yet. What are you comparing yourself to? What, are you that person that thinks that what you got is enough? No, there's so much more in you. And if you serve the same God we do, trust me, there's so much more in you. Don't compare yourself to your friends or your family members to determine whether or not you're successful. No, look up. He's got more to do in you. There's things that are waiting for you that you cannot even imagine, but it's up to you to step up and do what they did. Even though they had $645,000 worth of debt, they found a way. You can find a way. DaniJohnson.com. That's one N and an I. First Steps to Success, Dallas, Texas, February 23rd to the 25th. I'll see you there. That's it for us today. God bless you. Have a great rest of the day. Bye.
If this episode was an encouragement to you, go to DaniJohnson.com and share it with your friends now. You never know who else needs to hear it. This has been the Dani Johnson Show. Join us every weekday at 7 a.m. for more insights that will help you get to the life you've always wanted.